News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. All right, here we are at the Chris Crock Show, hour number 2. So this is quite a story. It grabbed me because a lot of people may think the solution to homelessness, which obviously is a big problem, okay? Obviously, the economy is in the crapper with inflation and everything. I understand that. But here's proof of why, and it's just one piece of anecdotal evidence, but it goes to a bigger point that I'm making. City of Dallas, the former homeless shelter called Gateway, we've all heard of Gateway Homeless Shelter. It's a couple blocks down the street from City Hall. It's closed, and they're selling it to try to make the police fire pension board whole more. Anyway, the point being, though, is it's vacant, and it's locked up, and it's boarded off, and yet homeless people broke into it. They've been living into it, 20 of them, and they clogged up all the toilets and all the bathrooms. There's feces and urine overflowing according to the city council member. This city council member in particular supports this is Jesse Moreno. He supports housing, free housing for homeless people. I do not. And it is because the overwhelming majority of people that are homeless, it's not just me saying this, it's homeless advocates for people that have been quoted in the Dallas Morning News, other publications across the country, that say the way to help homelessness is not to give them money, number one, but also it is not to give them free housing. The Salvation Army has the best program in the world, in my opinion, that I'm aware of. And look, there's better ones too, I'm sure, just as good as one. But I want to tell you my personal experience. I rang the bell for years with Salvation Army when I was in Madison, Wisconsin, as a talk show host in 02 to 04. And I supported them. I adopted a family, if you will, quote unquote, for Christmas and Christmas gifts. And the guy in charge of the Salvation Army kind of allowed me to do something that's usually not allowed. I was able to bring the presents to the mom and her son. It was beautiful. I felt so good. And my wife and I went out shopping for them for groceries and some toys. It was the best feeling ever, truthfully. But there was a story that was in the news when I was there. And it was a woman who came from Chicago in Madison, and she tried to get the Salvation Army shelter, and she was in there, and then they threw her out. And she's like, I'm a single mom, this and that. And the Salvation Army said, oh, no. They tried to make it about race, too, in that story, but it was a front cover story for, they were trying to make it. Here's what it was. It was Salvation Army said, oh, no. It doesn't matter who you are. You come here and you stay in our shelter. We teach you. You don't just stay here. You have to, number one, be sober. You have to, number two, we train you how to do your resume, make a resume, and we train you how to get a job. And you have to open up your books while you're staying in our shelter with your checks. We take your checks, we take your budget, and we teach you how to be self-sustainable, to save, and to get housing. And she didn't follow the rules. She didn't want to open up her books. This is why I'm so passionate. I've read this stuff over the years. And so they threw her out. Because they're not giving you free stuff. You have to work for it, and you have to become self-sufficient, and that's what they do. And that's why, and let me tell you one more thing. I was telling you in the last hour, I mentioned this casually, this young man I'm mentoring. And I'm very angry about the way he was being handled. There was a group who was helping him out to get some interviews through, it was one of these minority groups, right? And they gave him the interview, but he hadn't been trained up. Nobody poured into him. Here's how you need to dress. Here's how you need to look. You're not making eye contact. That's probably why you didn't get this. There's a lot of things. And I told him, what makes me angry? He goes, why would you be angry about this? I said, because they threw something at you. They threw a job interview at you. It's easy to score a job interview like, hey, we're this powerful company, this minority group. You're going to give some minority people some job. And he got the interview, but he didn't get the job. You know why? Because it's easier to throw something at somebody than it is to pour into them and invest in them. I said, I am angry that they didn't mentor you. And I said, I'm going to mentor you, and I'm going to teach you how to do it yourself. And I'm going to pour into you. And I'm going to teach you everything that I learned, and I'm going to spend time with you. And I did that night after my show. I spent like 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't know. I don't care. I love pouring into these young people that want to learn. And then today I spent like an hour with them doing a mock interview and sharing all my thoughts and etc. Okay? It's harder to spend time with somebody and pour into somebody than it is to throw a $5 bill at them. That's why I'm angry and passionate about it. Well, this is the same thing. You give people that are not freeloading. You give people that are homeless free housing. Let me tell you something else. The Dallas Morning News, remember we used to have some big tent cities here in Dallas? Dallas Morning News went in and interviewed them all. They were about to break it up. Remember that city broke it up? And they went and interviewed all these people. You know what they said? They found out, Dallas Morning News reported this, almost every woman in that homeless tent city had been sexually assaulted. Every one of them. That's what you're supporting. That's the environment. Clogged toilets, disrespecting property, women being sexually assaulted, people being intimidated and threatened. It's like an sub-ecosystem, whatever you want to call it. So no, I don't support free housing for the homeless. Do you? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you think giving housing to homeless and panhandlers is the answer? I don't. Do you trust the homeless to take care of the property they're allowed to stay at? I don't. Do you think the problem is rent and housing is so expensive? I do not. That's the last piece of this. Chime in right now. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Line's wide open. I do not. And here's why. As I mentioned, the Salvation Army teaches you how to fish, not gives you a fish. Number two, a lot of people getting sexually assaulted, violated. You know, in the Fort Worth housing tent city, they found one of them several years ago. I was shocked, but maybe not. They found there's illicit gambling and stuff. They found a buried body, a skeleton, in parts of the camp, because that's how it works. They intimidate you. They bully you. There's a subculture. There's no law. You cannot support this. This is horrible. This is horrible. I do not. I will not ever. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. And people need to be poured into. People need to be mentored. People need to be held accountable. And nobody wants to do that. They want to throw something at you. I am so against that. That is not the way to do it. Somebody has to be available to be helped. Somebody has to want to be helped. Somebody has to be willing to change their mind and such. Okay? They have to be willing. And if they're not willing and you dump them in a house, they're going to trash it. That's just how it is. That's humanity. It's not saying homeless people are any different than anybody else. It's humanity. And the overwhelming majority of people that are homeless and panhandlers are people who choose to live this kind of a lifestyle because they want to stay inebriated on drugs or alcohol or both, or it's because they're mentally ill and they refuse to take their medications. Those are the two overwhelming reasons. I would say 90-95% of the people that are in these situations either refuse to take medications because they're mentally ill and they don't want to. I'm a massive advocate of getting help of counseling. I've told you this over the years. Medication, prescription, whatever it takes to get that help. I'm a beyond huge supporter of it. I've told you over the years, that's who I am. It's in my family. Dane and Emory, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP.
Good evening, Chris. How you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Pretty good. Like I was telling your call screener, I don't support giving free housing because I used to volunteer at a place in downtown Dallas where we had people come in and
homeless shelter.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a homeless shelter. It was it was run through a church in Dallas.
Okay, good.
And talking to some of the people that were coming in, all they cared about was, some place to hold up for the day and then go out and get their booze or whatever they wanted. Mm-hmm. I used to be homeless.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Well, I had people that helped me out, and
did you want the help?
Yes, I did.
Do you think am I accurate here that the problem is people don't want help, they don't want to get help, they want to stay inebriated, or they don't want to take medications because they're mentally ill? They don't like the effects? For
the people I've talked to, I think majority of them wanted to stay because they wanted to panhandle and all this stuff. They didn't want a place.
Well, why would they not want a place if they're panhandling? They can make money and have a house. Why would they not want a house?
Because all they want to do with that money, and I know this for a fact,
is get high.
To get high or get drunk, one of the two.
And isn't it easy for somebody to give money to a homeless person or a panhandler and pat themselves on the back, almost break their arm patting themselves on the back and go home? Look at how awesome I am. I gave $5 to this guy, or $10 or $20 or $100, and you fed that man's addiction. You fed the beast, and you are the problem. I always think, and I will always think this, we should punish and have cops go after and do stings for the people giving money to the panhandlers. Well, that's the problem.
And I, with me doing volunteering in other forums, I rang bells for the Salvation Army for 20 years.
Right on, good.
In Illinois.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm from. Where in Illinois?
Alton.
Alton, Illinois. It's by Chicagoland, yeah.
Yeah, and they've always told me, say, if when you see someone homeless, you don't give them money.
No.
If they're hungry, they say, well, I'm hungry.
Give them food.
You go buy them food, and
That's
they
it.
say, well, no, I don't want food.
Then don't get them in.
Then just walk away.
Amen.
If they get angry, to heck with them.
Dane, I love your call. I'm grateful for you, and so you basically agree with me.
Yes, I do. 100%.
How many years were you at that homeless shelter volunteering for?
Well, let's see. I started volunteering there in 1999.
Okay, and so for years, right? Just take a guess how many years, and then two things. We got to go, but how many years? Just guess. Number two, why did you?
No way I take that. Yeah, it was early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I worked there for maybe about 3 or 4 years.
Okay, last question is, how long were you homeless?
I was homeless for about a year.
Thank you for sharing your story, brother. We got to go. I appreciate you. Bob in Princeton, we're taking you next. Out of the box. Stand by, Bob. I want to take you next. Don't go anywhere. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you trust homeless to take care of property if they're allowed to stay at free housing? Do you think giving housing to homeless and panhandlers is the answer? And do you think the problem is rent and housing is so expensive? I do not. I'll share that part next. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, brother. Get yourself connected. Stereo MCs. Love this song. Love it, love it, love it. Let's play it forever. Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. 800-288. 800-288 WBAP, 800-288-9227 on the program. Okay. One of the things I wanted to mention, I'm asking you the questions. Do you think giving housing to homeless and panhandlers is the answer, giving free housing to them? I do not at all. I'm rabidly against it. And do you trust the homeless to take care of the property they're allowed to stay at? I don't. And here's the evidence with 20 people breaking into a city building and trashing it, overflowing with feces in the toilets and half-drunken liquor bottles everywhere. That's what you're supporting. So let me rephrase the question. Do you support paying for housing with your tax dollars so that people can overflow the toilets and leave half-drank liquor bottles all over the place and trashing them? That's literally what the city council member said. They, quote, the headline for Fox 4, Dallas city-owned building found trashed with 20 squatters living inside. Now we're going to give them housing. What makes you think they're going to treat it any differently? They're not. When you're drunk and high most of the time or mentally ill and refuse to take your meds, you're not going to treat the property with respect. You're going to trash it. You're going to be spending twice as much every other year to fix it up, to make it inhabitable. No. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I'm going to tell you about a story in a minute. First, we're going to go to Bob in Princeton here at 800-288-WBAP. I'm going to tell you a story about one of my friends from church who was released from prison not long ago and whether or not he can get housing and what that's like. I can't wait to share that short story with you in a minute, but let's go to Bob in Princeton. Bob, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello, sir.
Good evening, sir. I love your show.
Thank you.
Real quick about me, I'm 77 years old, a recovering alcoholic. About 10 years ago, my wife died. I live in a big homeless out in the country. Probably in the last 10 years, I've probably taken in 8 or 10 homeless people, men and women. Probably lost over $250,000.
Where did you lose? Where did you lose them? Where did you meet them at? Where did you get them? Where did you recruit these folks from?
Different places.
Okay.
One of them was a T-Mobile store. One of them was married to.
Your radar is on, and you're looking to help.
Live.
Your radar is on. You're looking to help people. Is that basically it in a good way?
I got too big a heart, but I'm not a liberal by that, man.
It doesn't matter either way. What matters is you're willing to help. Are you only taking in people that you believe will be accountable? You try to make them accountable?
I quit taking in homeless people a few years ago.
Right.
By the way, Bob, my name Bob said, for bring your own Bible, I need to visit your church.
Yeah. So that's your rule.
And you know what Sunday is, don't you?
What?
Sunday's Father's Day, so we need to bless our Heavenly Father, number one, and then our earthly fathers, number two.
Well, I forgot it's Father's Day for me, my friend. You put that in with our anniversary this weekend, our 24th anniversary, and I got a big weekend. I don't know who's going to pay for it, but we got a big weekend. I appreciate your call, Bob, and I'm grateful for what you do. You agree with me? Don't give them free housing. Is that right?
I doubt if we could find anything to get agree on them. I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran too.
But you said I'm not doing this anymore because it was a losing proposition. So that tells me that you would agree no free housing for people either that aren't getting help or don't want to get help, right?
Absolutely. It's a big mistake.
Appreciate your call. Jim in Springtown, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Jim.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, sir. I hope you are okay after the tornado. I hope you're okay after the tornado that landed not too far from you, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment about I think it was $5 billion a couple of weeks ago that was spent in California. They couldn't account for $10 of any of that money over the last 4 or 5 years.
For homelessness, free housing, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was talking about. I couldn't remember the exact story. I didn't need to look it up. It was
in California.
Yeah.
Man, that's horrible. They shouldn't get any kind of federal funds.
Yep.
But also, I'm for helping somebody, but give them a time limit. Same with food system. These people to get it for the rest of their lives or their whole lives is nuts. Give somebody 6 months, help them get I'm all for help somebody get a vehicle, get insurance, whatever they need.
Let me tell you, I am not. I am not unless they want to get help and they're willing to change.
Exactly.
Because those go from 6 months to 6 months to 6 months. 6 month to 6 month to 6 month different places. They'll just keep going and being high or whatever, being irresponsible. That's my humble opinion. Thank you, Jim, for your great call. All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. The last piece I wanted to share with you on my end is my friend from church. And he is on fire for his faith, and he comes in and he brings people in that are all fresh out of jail. And that man is working overnights at a crap job that is way beneath his intelligence and his work ethic, but he's doing it because he made bad mistakes. He owns up to them. He's reconciling with his family one by one when it's appropriate for them and they're comfortable with it, and he's literally building his life back up from the beginning. That's a man I would help. That's a man right there that I would support because he's doing it. He's doing it. He's humbling himself at a job that is 20 times below where he should be because of his brilliant intelligence. He's a wonderful, sweet man, and he's doing it. That's who you support. All right, coming up next, we got 3 lines open, 800-288-WBAP. Big story of the day that we haven't gotten to yet. Several terrorists from Joe Biden that he let in all over the country, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, New York, terrorists that have been let into this country, stamped and approved at the border, wild and loose from terrorist nations, finally getting rounded up right now. This is a joke. We're not safe. A terrorist attack is coming thanks to this president. Next. Boy, Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Talking about, do you think giving free housing to homeless and panhandlers is the answer to homelessness? I think it's the exact opposite. Unless they want to get help or willing to get help and they will change their ways, you do not give them free stuff. They're going to stay high or stay unmedicated if they have mental illness because they don't want to or they don't like their meds. They don't want to take their meds. And do you trust homeless to take care of the property they're allowed to stay at for free? I do not. And lastly, do you think the problem is rent and housing is so expensive? I do not. By the way, roommates are a beautiful thing. If you have to live in a studio and have a roommate, whatever it takes. And as I said, my buddy from church is just getting started after prison, and he's got a job already. I think he's working possibly at a gas station or convenience store. Does not matter. you start and you work hard. He has a place, and he says it's a not a good neighborhood, but he's got a place, and he's a man, and he will be okay. And he's a brilliant, sweet young man. Older man. He's about my age, probably. I don't know. Wonderful guy. Let's go to Diane. By the way, our number is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. We're going to get into the terrorists being rounded up and arrested all over the country that Joe Biden has led into our country that are illegals. First, Diane in Fort Worth. You're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello, Diane.
Hi there. I just wanted to call and tell you that I completely agree with your suggestion that about everything that you're talking about for the homeless. It was my experience as a volunteer at the Salvation Army for a couple of years, and I worked in the food pantry. But
wonderful.
They had an overnight facility, but they always had a security man there, and sometimes they would have problems. Sometimes violence would break out, but they really inspected them before they were allowed in. They gave them a quick urine test to see, if they were on drugs.
And if they were, what happened? And if they failed the test, what happened?
They could not come in. And also they, had to make sure that they had nothing as far as knives or anything else on them. And some people had to be thrown out. And because of, sometimes there was violence. And so you just have, some people want help.
And those are the ones we all want to assist. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, because they grow and they really want to do better.
There's some of the most incredible people. There's some of the most incredible people once they work themselves up. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, there was another facility where they actually allowed, people to come in and live there. And it was exactly as you stated earlier, they helped them get a job. There was one particular woman that had 2 children, and that she was allowed in there, given a room with 3 beds, and one for each child and herself. And she got a job, but she wouldn't comply with the rules. And instead of saving the money, they were teaching her how to do a checkbook and various other things. And as you said, they would take the money and give her whatever her needs were.
Yes, allocate it. Right.
Yeah.
To teach her and show her you can do this. As long as she follows the rules, she can stay, right?
Yes. But this particular woman chose not to, and she was very angry that they threw her out. Because they really didn't want to. She had 2 children, but she would not. She'd sometimes come in later with her children there. She was just too busy doing other things, and she didn't she didn't want to hand over any money to them. She wanted to spend it, and she didn't really care whether she paid her bills or not.
There you go.
So some people want to be helped, and some people
they just want free stuff. Right. So you agree with me, it would be a complete disaster and totally horrible to give homeless people free housing because the problem is, they're unhoused. That's a lie. Stop speaking up falsehoods. By the way, you reminded me of another outlet that I helped out with Salvation Army in Middle Georgia when I was in Middle Georgia, making Warner Robins. And you remember Friar Tuck from what's it called? Friar Tuck, the character from Robin Hood. Remember him?
Yeah.
He is to me that guy. He's a lovable, hefty dude, and he was tough when he needed to be tough because the people that you're talking about, a lot of them are rough. Not everybody, but a lot of them are rough and have a lot of issues. And he allowed my family and I to come in for a Thanksgiving and to serve food and to serve the people there. And he took me on a tour of the shelter where they were living and everything. And as you know, no co-ed and all this kind of stuff. And if you're not married, you can't be co-ed in a room. And if you no pets, none of that stuff. So, anyways, it is an amazing thing to do. And you guys are warriors on the front lines in good for wonderful purposes. And it's a rough go sometimes. Thank you for what you've done, and thank you for sharing tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and God bless people that do with Friar Tuck, my friend. Let's call him Friar Tuck. He's retired now. He rides around America in his RV with his beautiful wife, and they work their butts off, and they deserve every bit they get. Wonderful, sweet people. I got to ring when I was in Middle Georgia that year as well. I rang the the bell for Salvation Army at the largest bell in all of Middle Georgia, which is at the Bass Pro Shops. They were the massive, towering, huge, ginormous bell. Griff in Fort Worth, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello, Griff.
Hey, Chris. Love your show.
Thank you. I do too.
Right now,
you laughed. You laughed. Somebody finally gets my humor. Go ahead, sir.
So I'm actually homeless right now. I live in my car, and I lost my job, and I'm trying to get another job to get out of my situation. But with the free housing, I think they need to start drug testing. If you want food stamps, if you want unemployment, anything like that, they should drug test.
Amen.
Because if they don't, because I can guarantee you, 90% of those people are on some type of drugs.
So you agree with me? No housing, no nothing for free, unless you're willing to be accountable, held accountable by an appropriate organization that, like a Salvation Army type thing, not just giving them free housing. Is that accurate?
Yes, and even if you want unemployment, they require you to get 3 job searches a week for free housing or something like that. They should require you to have a work, show that you're looking for work.
Yes. Hey,
and then once you get a job, start charging you rent.
So what made you fall into homelessness, if I may ask, the situation you're in right now?
Well, I lost my job,